Some words by Adrienne Rich to remind us of what we are about. She writes, "My heart is moved by all I cannot save. So much has been destroyed that I have to cast my lot with those who, age after age, perversely, with no extraordinary power, reconstitute the world." Think about that. Age after age with no extraordinary power. That means you. That means me. That with no superpowers at all, we can recreate the world. And in fact, we do every day. And when we do, if we do it with heart and soul and mind and joy, it is a better world. Because even though the words say this is a day that the Lord has made, we have our hands and fingerprints on it too.
Can we all join in the responsive reading, which is in your bulletin? We call that church free, which enters into covenant with the ultimate source of existence, which binds together families and generations and stands against all idolatry, which is the joy of worship before the mystery of life and death, which protects and nourishes integrity and spiritual freedom, which yearns to belong to the Church Universal, which seeks insight from every source and gives rise to new and broader fellowship, which is a pilgrim church on an adventure of the Spirit, which seeks the prophethood and priesthood of every soul, prompted by a Spirit that bloweth where it listeth, and maketh all things. Again, my name is Kirsten Lundeen. I'm a 30-year member of Fountain Street Church. And I was lured to Fountain Street because of the quality of its music program. Music, to me, holds a universality of spirit that inspires and nurtures my soul. I've worked on various planning committees, been a governing board member in the late 1900s, 27 years ago, can you believe that? On the adult choir board, the Duncan Little Fair Great Speakers Board, and recently I was elected as the governing board chair for 2017. First of all, I would really like to thank you, the congregation, expressing the governing board's appreciation for your great involvement this fall in the town hall discussions on where our church was going and how our budget was being organized. It has shown the governing board the importance of keeping that dialogue going. Through those town hall meetings, I think that we all have gotten a better sense of where the church has been programmatically and also financially. We've had a very tight budget for the last 3 or 4 years. And in fact, 3 years ago, we've had to cut staff. This year brought that same issue to the fore again, and we were anticipating perhaps cutting some of the ministerial staff. But over the discussions in December and January, the congregation has really stepped up to the plate and contributed out of their pockets an initial $50,000 to $60,000. So for the 2017 budget, we no longer have to make any cuts. In fact, we've restored 2 of the positions that we cut 2 years ago, and that being the events coordinator and the volunteer coordinator. So we feel that we have a nice staffing component model that will, really carry us into the future for the next couple of years. We also thank the congregation not only for your financial support, but for your continuous volunteerism through all the programs of Fountain Street Church. That's what makes a church community. We depend on you. I am honored to be the chair of the governing board, and I'm honored to work with the governing board. And I would like you all to know us a little better this year. I would like to ask that each of the following 15 governing board members stand and stay standing through the rest of the welcome. Paul Arnold, Jim Ayers, Jean Bailey, Tim Creamer, Kathleen Depp-Higgins, David Dorr, Pat Eamon, so here in the choir, Wynn Irwin, Carol Koistra, Janet Peterson, Mark St. Amour, Betty Gale Shively, Chip Wall, and Katie Booms is our scribe. I don't know if Katie came into the service. She is part of our team too. The governing board officers for this year are Wynn Irwin, vice chair, Paul Arnold, secretary, Tim Creamer, treasurer, and Chip Wall, member at large. The governing board does its work through 5 standing committees: the budget and finance, Tim Creamer is chair; the nominating committee, Pat Eamon is chair; the oversight committee, Carol Koistra is chair; the stewardship committee, Jack Wohler and Paul Arnold are involved in the leadership of that committee, and the transition committee is Jean Bailey. 2 of our priorities this year are, first, we are asking all the governing board members to wear their governing board tags. We want to get to know the congregation a little better, so anytime the governing board members are at an event, we want them to be visible so you can know us and come to us and ask us questions, express your concerns, etc. So we want to really get to know one another and what is church, but generating good relationships. We are going to increase our congregational dialogue this year. We have had some town hall meetings started last year, and we're going to increase those to 3 town hall meetings this year. One of those town hall meetings will be in late September or 1st of October of next year, where we will, in a very early manner, discuss the projected budget for 2018, and we'll share that with the governing, with the congregation. So please be alert to that town hall meeting in the fall. We will be having on the website all the recent governing board minutes and governing board documents that we use during each governing board. So if you're a governing board scholar, you can go on the website to get those documents. Also, do check your Facebook. We will keep the current events going, and Jack Wohler is great about keeping us informed of not only the church events, but also events in the community that keep us involved and on top of things that are going on in our greater environment. We also, in the Chimes, the monthly Chimes, will have a very short article of the very last governing board meeting, and we'll list, maybe just in bullet forms, what are the key policy issues that we've been discussing. So if you are interested, you can ask us about it when you see us with our badges on, walking around the social hall. And one of the key things that we are really going to try to do is get to know the different groups within the church, to merge activities so we know what the people from the chapel service, from those who go to the Grow the Soul, those character school people, so we really get to be a community and can see each other and know each other when we're in the grocery store and say hi. We have a mutual commonality of spirit. I think that's important. The second major issue that the governing board is working on immediately is initiating a strategic planning process. We will be identifying key goals and then make an action plan so we can move forward with volunteers, staff, and governing board members to make those actions happen. The governing board collectively really seriously take their responsibility as elected representatives of the congregation, and in making informed and thoughtful decisions on policy for our congregation. And it is indeed the governing board's commitment to serve you well. Thank you.
This is the day that the Lord has made. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice. Let us be glad. This is the day which the Lord has made.
Before I forget again, I'm very good at forgetting, by the way. It's a gift, what can I say? If you're at all interested, I am inviting up to 8 people in this community to join me on recreating the fictional walk of Chaucer's Pilgrims from London to Canterbury, England this May. And if you're interested in going, not free, but it will be worth it. Let me know. There are flyers in the hall, and I have a few here as well. It's also a fundraiser for the church. Good news for everybody. A reading or lesson. I am mindful in our different times every week of the comment I read a few weeks ago from the great Reformed theologian Karl Barth, that the pastor and the faithful should not deceive themselves into thinking they are just a religious society, which has to do with certain themes. They live in the world. We still need the Bible and the newspaper, except that the newspaper now is in virtual form. And I quote now from the Canadian Broadcast Corporation website of yesterday, in which it was reported that the hashtag Dress Like a Woman took over social media Friday after claims surfaced that the United States president likes female staffers to dress like women. The reference to an alleged female dress code sparked outrage online and flurries of tweets. People posted photos of women in uniforms, scrubs, spacesuits, and even a shot of the Game of Thrones warrior Brienne of Tarth in response. In the Jewish tradition, a passage from Judges appears today or this weekend, and invariably there's a comment buried in that if we're willing to listen. In the 4th chapter of Judges, Deborah, the wife of Lapidoth, who was a prophetess, led Israel at that time. Let me back up and say that again. Deborah was a prophetess and led Israel at that time. She used to sit under a palm between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites would come to her for decisions. She summoned Barak, son of Abinoam, and said to him, "The God of Israel has commanded, go march up Mount Tabor and take with you 10,000 men, and I will draw Sisera, the army commander, with his chariots and his troops toward you, and I will deliver him into your hands." But Barak said to Deborah, "I will go. If you will go with me, I will go. If not, I will not go." "Very well, I will go with you," she answered. "However, there will be no glory for you, for in the course you're taking, God will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman." Let those with eyes see and those with ears hear. last month, we introduced something we're going to try to do a little more often, which is to get you to sing a little bit more. But you don't have to open a book. The words are already printed in your order of worship. And those who were here the last few weeks know, isn't that what the choir was singing last month? Yeah, it is. But it's now intended for you. So we're going to do an offering response. You don't have to stand up. It's meant to be the thing that gets you from offering with your money to offering with your spirit. And in the last month, I sang solos. I was terrified. Now I get to play the piano, and I'm even scared more than that because I'm going to play wrong notes. So I expect you to find the right note even if I get the wrong note. You can do that, right? And my wonderful colleague over here, who will not grimace if I make too many wrong notes, will help the choir sing along. What's going to happen is they're going to sing the refrain you're going to repeat, and then they'll go on to a verse, and then we'll all sing together, and sing another verse, and we'll all sing together. And the text is important. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. And that's a good prelude for where we're going to go in our prayerful time. Because if you don't feel it, you won't do it, will you? So it's a promise you're going to make that when we get to the prayer, you're actually going to listen to the Spirit and not just sit there and wonder what I'm talking about. Okay? Now I'm going to sit at the piano, pray for me. I'm going to get the piece of music to help me out. All right. All righty. Let's see now. Now we're going to do this slower than the choir did, okay? So it'll be easy for everyone except me. Yeah, you're going to get better at that, I'm pretty sure, because it's a spiritual practice, singing is. And practice means you do it over and over, one time after another. Like going to church on Sunday. You actually do get better at it. We need to do it more often. I wanted to point out as we head into the prayerful time that the music you heard today at the offering and at the prelude and postlude is by Adolphus Hailstork. I love that name. He is a composer of color who's been working for liberal religious communities as well as for composing for symphonies. Our own symphony has done some of his work from time to time. And all the music you're hearing today has its origins in the African American tradition, which is not to say that's all they're good at, but we're picking that out. And of course, the trouble is it is said in commonplace ways that white men can't preach and white churches can't sing. And I'm willing to agree we've got room to grow. And the key to that growth is letting go. We want to hang on to our dignity, our decorum. And if you're in a different context, dignity and decorum are not safe places, but confining places. And sometimes we in the white community tend to mistake exuberance for being undisciplined, and informality for being inappropriate. We have to be careful that we apply our expectations as being normative for everyone. But our choir, many members took part in the MLK Day choir, and you discovered it was informal, it was exuberant, and it was as spiritual as it gets, was it not? We have ways we can grow. And so as we enter our time of prayer, I want us to think about how we can grow. Let's pray together, shall we, friends? Somewhere in Scripture it is written that someone said, I believe, help thou my unbelief. We are always of half and heart and half of mind. We want to do something and yet we hold back. We believe in something yet hold doubts, and that's all right. But we do need help sometimes in letting go of the things that we think are valuable and precious, but turned out not to be. It's hard to tell, isn't it? Sometimes the object in our hand feels like it is priceless beyond belief, and then when it's gone, we find we can continue to live, that the relationship we depended on vanishes in death or dismemberment, and yet we find we can take another breath. All our lives we relinquish. And so maybe our prayer is to learn relinquishment, the letting go of things that seem so important. And trust somehow that a guiding force, a spirit, a presence will point us toward that which matters most, to the pearl of truly great price. Upon these things we give ourselves now in that prayer which is held most dearly in the presence of silence. And so may it be. And amen. And stay quiet. The choir wants you to listen.
Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? I'm so glad that trouble won't last always. I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. I'm so glad that trouble don't last always. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, Somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush. Somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do?
Soon one morning, death come creeping in my room.
Soon one morning, death come creeping in my room. Soon one morning, death come creeping in my room. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh my Lord, what shall I do? Hush, hush,
Sometimes the most beautiful music has to be allowed to evaporate into the air. Each week I give thanks for those who came before me and you, who made this house what it is today through labor, and care, and love, and presence. We lift up the names of those who have died at this time in years past, Sam Bacon and Walter Kepp and Dick Brooks, and others whose names are not known to me but are known to you in your hearts. We ask their blessing and our memory be present as we gather today. God, filled with mercy, dwelling in the heavens heights, bring proper rest under the wings of your presence to those who have gone to their eternal rest. May you, who are a source of mercy, shelter them beneath your wings eternally, and may you bind their souls to yours and to those with us among the living, that they may rest in peace, that we may be at peace, and let us ever say, amen. 3 words: liberate, animate, agitate. If people want to know what Fountain Street Church is about, that's it. That's the whole of liberal religion in 3 words: liberate, animate, agitate. There's more. But if you know that, you've got the basis. Every religious tradition has had those who sought liberation from the pillory of unquestioned dogma, who often suffered for it as well. Every religious tradition had those who saw and decried a kind of soulless piety, going through the motions, not really meaning it. And every religion has had those who saw the hypocrisy of moral values proclaimed and worshiped, but conveniently ignored every other time. We come from those people, and you have come into those people, whether today or 10 or 50 years ago. Of course, we have fallen short ourselves. Doubt without any other thought can lead, or shall we say, curdle into cynicism in the belief that nothing is worth believing. Integrity can stiffen into a certain moral arrogance, and even good morality can descend into what some people call political correctness. That's why we continue to do this thing called worship. Other religions may wonder why we do it at all. When you pray, do you begin to whom it may concern? That's one old joke. Of course, I like the comeback better. What is this thing you mean by pray? When it comes to liberal religion, you might ask why we bother to do it at all. And yet I say it is essential, in fact, one of the 4 essential activities of a liberal faith. I'll cover some others later. Moreover, in these politicized times, worship may be the most political and powerful thing we can do. Now, let me explain why and how. The Christian lectionary this morning, which I'm consulting all year, includes the famed Sermon on the Mount. And as I read the passages, they seem to describe what worship can do when we do it right. This week's text starts with Jesus talking to the people around him, saying, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot." Now, salt is an ancient metaphor. So Roman soldiers were paid in salt. The word salary comes from the Latin word for salt. It was a precious commodity, not because it flavored food, because it preserved it. So when Jesus says, "You are the salt of the world, the salt of the earth," he is not saying that they're the rugged, ordinary people, but that the ordinary people are themselves the ones who preserve the world. He is saying that you are the ones that hold the earth, the world, society together. He's lifting up those at the bottom of the social order and saying, no, you're at the top, they're at the bottom. Now, those who listen to my weekly radio rant on WPRR, publicrealityradio.org, every Friday from 10 to noon, may know that one of the theme songs between some of my rantings is a setting of the Rolling Stones' Salt of the Earth, as sung by a wonderful blues singer named Betty LaVette. She says this sentiment better than I. Connor, could you run that up so we could hear a little bit of how she puts it?
I want to thank to the hard-working people. Let's drink to the lowly of birth. I want to raise my glass to the good and the evil. Let's drink to the salt of the earth. Say a prayer for our hard-fighting soldiers. Give some thought to their life-risking work. How about a prayer for their spouses and children? They keep their home fires burning and still till the earth.
Oh, my. Oh, I wish I could preach like that. She's a Muskegon girl, by the way, Betty LaVette. Go listen to that whole song. It'll send you through every day renewed in your hope. But you'll notice to whom she's talking. Those humble of birth. The salt of the earth, hard-working soldiers, those who till the earth. These are the people who shaped the election, you know. And their choice reflected a sense that they were feeling thrown out and trampled underfoot by our society. Rightly or wrongly, they felt that. When people do not get the respect they deserve from those in power, they will replace them with someone who does, or more cynically, those who seem to. We need to pay attention to the reality that the salt of the earth, of which all of us are a part, are not getting the respect, the care that we deserve. Which is why Jesus is so important right now, because he's pointing out even 2,000 years ago that the people who are at the bottom of the ladder really are holding up everything. And we're not saying that. And we don't mean it. This doesn't seem like I'm talking about worship now, but I really am. Because the word worship contains within it, in its origins, the word worth. Worth shape. To hold that which is worth caring about. God is the usual object, of course, but in every religion, there is a sense that human beings share some of that worth. Image and likeness, you may know that phrase from Genesis. We're made in the image and likeness of God. So worship is about the worth of humans as well as God. The great theologian Paul Tillich preached a fabulous sermon. Why do I keep quoting people better than me? Well, you should go and read them anyway. A great sermon called "You Are Accepted." A message millions in this country want to hear from their leaders of all kinds. They want to hear it as wealth grows for the few and uncertainty for the many. They need to know not only that they are accepted, but they are the salt of the earth. They are valuable, they are precious, and they need to be cared for. Do we really, truly believe that, quote, all men are created equal anymore? Or have we descended to what Langston Hughes calls that same old stupid plan of dog eat dog and mighty crush the weak? Is that really what we're about? And now for a different story. It was said of Reb Simcha Bunim, it says in the Hasidic tradition, the Jewish Hasidic tradition, that he carried two pieces of paper, one in each pocket. On one was written, Bishvili nivra ha'olam, for my sake the world was created. On the other was wrote, Va'anoki afar ve'efer, I am but dust and ashes. And he would take out each slip of paper as necessary as a reminder to himself. That's what worship is about. It reminds us that we are godly and earthly. The lowest is as precious as the highest, and the highest is no better than the lowest. And that message has been drowned out by the louder message of competition with its winners and losers and its makers and takers. That is what worship does when it does its job, and it has been too silent about that for too many years. Our ideal experience of worship is also the ideal of society, that we each have value, salt, savor, a saving gift. Because elsewhere in that passage he talks about a light, not hidden. A light to shine, something not just for you to see by, but for others to see by. Salt flavors and preserves, not itself, but something else. Light is shed on others, not ourselves. You are the light of the world, says Jesus in the next sentence. Our inherent individual worth, which is so precious, actually is in our inherent capacity to save, to savor, and illuminate others, not just ourselves. That's why he goes on to say, no one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under a bushel basket, but on a lampstand to give light to all the house. Now, when I was a little boy in my Unitarian Sunday school, we had to learn to sing songs. Did we all remember going to some kind of Sunday school where you sang songs? And one of them that we were taught was, "This little light of mine." We held our finger like a candle as we sang. And then we put our hand over the candle and then over our finger and said, "Put it under a bushel." No! And we took it off and we'd shout the word no. We loved doing that. And I loved that song. I had no idea it came from the Bible. Those are Unitarians for you. But I discovered it later, and how great Jesus was if you don't have to go through the church to get to him. But the fact that I remember that song so many years later tells me something vital was going on that I heard. I understood that the light was me, that I had a light, that it was something to shine for all to see. And here's the gist of what I'm trying to get to today. The gospel that we keep saying but need to say aloud more and more in the liberal church. We are called to be saviors as much as saved, to be a light as well as to seek it. Thinking back to the origins of our faith and the perplexities and hypocrisies we saw, I cannot help but wonder if our society that so grandly speaks of equality and liberty has become more form than substance. Maybe some of those who are the salt of the earth today have sensed that the leaders of our time have talked the talk a lot, but not actually walked that walk, and have lost faith in those who have promised so much and delivered so little. Who can blame them if they wanted to throw the bums out? Returning to worship, however, whenever it happens, However it happens, it should make us feel like, for my sake the world was created, and I am but dust and ashes. We need to feel both every Sunday. They are apparent opposites. Heaven and earth, eternal and mortal, flesh and spirit. We want them to come together in a moment of vitality and excitement. In worship, we want to feel both at the same time, to pull both pieces of paper out and look at them and see that they are both true. The religious scholar Ludwig Feuerbach, see, I know how to speak German too. Ludwig Feuerbach described what he called the experience of ultimacy and intimacy at the same time. That's what we want out of worship, that the poles of existence should close in and we should find them close to one another. Anyone here remember something called an arc light? I learned about this when I was in high school. 2 carbon rods that are charged with electricity. As they come closer together, the electrons jump from one to another. When they come just to the right distance, they burst into light. But if you bring them entirely together, the light goes out. It is their proximity that gives the light the room to glow. That's what worship wants to be in our hearts, where we bring the most distant things close, but not together, just close enough to set us on fire. But of course, if you feel that on Sunday and forget about it by Monday, we will have failed. Because the idea is to light your light for Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And of course, by Thursday, it's feeling a little dim. And by Friday, you're trying to keep it going. And by Saturday, you wonder if... So you come back on Sunday to get it done again. The goal of worship in the liberal church is not revering the worth of God. That doesn't need to be done. Any God that needs us to tell him how great he is a pretty egotistic and insecure God, don't you think? No, the goal of worship in the liberal church is not to revere God, but to reveal the worth of every human being. Not to revere, but to reveal. At midnight, at the Easter Vigil, at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a bishop goes into a tiny little room in the sanctuary, supposedly where Jesus rose from the dead. And he comes out holding candles miraculously lit by the Holy Spirit. And then everyone in the room, hundreds of them in a small space, light their candles at the same time. Even people that are clinging to the walls. It is so busy, so the room is ablaze with light. Doesn't that sound like something you want to see? Doesn't that sound like the way you want to feel? In a world ablaze with individual lights, each person beaming with the gifts that they have to offer. That's what we want worship to feel like. It's what we want life to feel like. And it does, but not often. And that's why so many hungry people, living without the sense that they have value and worth and something to give, will eat whatever is offered, whether it's healthy or not. And so those who have felt their worth vanish and their light have extinguished will eat up the dazzle of a fancy church or the promises of a grandiose preacher. They are empty spiritual calories, but when you're hungry, you'll eat anything. And the same is happening in our politics. They go for the dazzle and the promises because they haven't gotten what they really need, the promise and the hope that we, preachers, we, churches, we, neighbors, should extend. Our yearning for worth and respect is so deep that almost anything that looks like it will be seized and swallowed. Okay, I have 2 truths to share, if I may be so immodest as to claim to have truth. First is that you, yes, you, need worship to sustain your light. Albert Schweitzer, the theologian, musician, and physician to the poor in Africa, said, "At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person." Did you feel it when the choir sang? That's what it's about. That's what it's about. That's what worship is for. It rekindles your light, your faith, your hope, your love, your courage, your joy, so that you can go back into the world and share it with others. This is my absolute and solemn promise to you. There will always be a light to rekindle yours if you come on Sunday. It might be a song. It might be a prayer. It might be the sermon. It might just be a smile when you need it. But there is always a light to rekindle yours on Sunday. Always. Second truth. Your light is what you have to offer the world. It is your mission and ministry. In Paul's letter to the Ephesians, there's this wonderful chapter I have relied upon over the years. Each of us was given grace, gifts that some would be apostles, some prophets, some evangelists, some pastors and teachers, and that the church exists to, I love this phrase, equip the saints for the work of ministry. Yes, that's what we do here. This, the Cathedral of Heresy, is for the equipping of saints for the work of ministry. Because you need a place to help you find that light that you have. Unlike other places, we're not going to say what it is, but we'll help you find it. And we're here also to help you keep it lit and keep it burning. So we're here to liberate that ministry you have and to animate it week by week so you don't burn out. And finally, because you do those two things, you will agitate the world. Because nothing disturbs the status quo more than a person who knows exactly who she is and what she's about. We have apostles sitting in these seats this morning. We have prophets and evangelists and teachers and singers and organizers. We have helping hands and listening ears, writers and speakers and builders and healers, those who are going to clean our wounds, who will feed our faces and clean up after us, all of which are lights unto the world, a light that can save the world. You know, faith in the American dream is burning low. We can all smell the smoke of the guttering candle flickering towards darkness. And when that happens, fear grows. Fear grows in the darkness, doesn't it? And people put up walls and extend bans and hope that somehow the darkness will go away. And I got to tell you, all the protests and all the tweets and posts and postcards and phone calls and internet memes will not be enough to dispel the darkness. They are simply not enough. They are necessary, but they are not enough. What we need to do in addition to all that, what we must do in addition to all that, is outshine the darkness. We can, in fact, be what Jesus calls in his next sentence, a city on a hill. We can be the light without the bushel. We can be the place where people know that hope lives. Because the American dream, the human dream, our dream, is a world ablaze with the lights of lives liberated by truth, animated by hope, and agitated by justice. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. That's why I come back week after week. I told you 1,000 times, I only get paid for Monday through Friday. I'm here as a volunteer on Sunday. Because it is my heart to be with you, to try to light my light and rekindle it from you. Our presence and purpose in these darker days is to prophesy a great dream that each of us, every person, everywhere, has a light to shine, and our mission is to set them all ablaze. Put it under a bushel? No. I'm going to let it shine. Everywhere I go? No, I'm going to let it shine. Building up a world? No, I'm going to let it shine, let it shine, let it shine all the time. May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be found true in thy sight, thou who art my rock and my redeemer. Remember what the man said, Albert Schweitzer. Every one of us at times finds that our light has gone out. Go find someone to rekindle it. It is when you stand next to someone you trust and love, like this one right here. She lights my light. We all have someone who can light up our light. You can find that person here. Come back every bleeding Sunday and we can light the world. And remember that if we don't get it done this week, we'll have another chance next week. Because this day and every day is a day which the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.